When Mzee Jomo Kenyatta died in 1978, the succession intrigues of the time placed the then powerful Attorney General, Charles Mugane Njonjo, on the driver's seat of the political transition. And he literally ensured that Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, then vice president, succeeded his boss, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta,
na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote
as the second president of the Republic of Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of Charles Mugane Njonjo. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Kenyan Historian. My name is Enoch Sikolia. I'm coming to you from the leafy suburbs of Karen in the capital city of Nairobi. And today we are talking about Charles Mugane Njonjo, the once powerful Attorney General, ex-official member of Parliament and Cabinet, a man who stood out for his urbane and somehow aristocratic demeanor. But first, let's look at his life as a young lawyer coming through the ranks during colonial times. A dashing young lawyer, donning designer suit, spoke the Queen's language with perfect diction, and his law career at top flight level.
The justice would dispense under the shadow of the blind goddess on top of this building.
And I knew Charles when, before I became a member of Parliament, before independence, he had just come back as a young lawyer from having qualified as a lawyer in England. And he came back under colonial government at that time to join the Attorney General's office. And now he grew through the system.
Charles Njonjo started off as Crown Counsel, handling cases under companies and bankruptcy ordinance in the Supreme Court. He also doubled up as the Assistant Registrar General up to 1960. As Kenya's independence beckoned, Charles Njonjo's star was burning brighter in the colonial administration. At an age of 42 years and just 1 year to Kenya's independence, he became the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions.
He was now involved in the group that we were preparing for independence, but he was from the government side. So when we became independent, he was one of the senior legal officers who helped now in organizing the new government. It was the speeding up of Africanizing the various senior positions. So Charles was picked as the Attorney General because of the African councils at the Attorney General's office. He was one of the most senior.
Sir Charles, as he was known, thanks to his penchant for all things British, including his signature pinstriped suits, joined the first 15-member cabinet as Attorney General. Brudi Nabwera was deployed to Washington, D.C. as Kenya's ambassador.
When I was in America, we used to correspond, and he was very helpful. He was very kind, very helpful to me. Whenever I had a problem to sort out the government, he was always available. Even if it was something that he was to talk to Mzee, he would convey my message to Mzee or talk to Mzee. Then Mzee would tell him what he wanted me to do. So, in that respect, even in my official capacity, Charles became very useful to me.
Indeed, Charles Njonjo was very, very powerful. Charles Njonjo had President Kenyatta's ear and often rode in the presidential limousine. His hand was felt in all key decisions that were taken by President Kenyatta, including the appointment of Daniel Arap Moi as Kenya's third vice president when Joseph Murumbi suddenly resigned. Now, look at this. Charles Njonjo ruled the legal scene like an opinionated roaster, interpreting and enforcing the law his own way.
He operated in a system in which he was more of a law enforcement, a part of the law enforcement institution, or the head of the law enforcement institution, in circumstances where the state, was everything.
And once he has to push a motion or a bill for government, it always sailed through.
Njonjo was literally married to his job that he only settled down at the age of 52. He got married to Margaret Bryson in 1972 after pressure from his boss, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. It is rumored that Mzee always wondered when he would stop being advised by a bachelor. So how close was Charles Njonjo with Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, Kenya's first president? Now, picture this. Those in the north say it was not uncommon for Njonjo to sip lunchtime champagne while walking barefoot in President Kenyatta's office in State House, Nairobi. Hear this then. With a stroke of the pen, Njonjo could deregister companies or deport foreigners. He could also sign detention orders while in his house, jail or release prisoners. That is what you call power. These powers made him enemies among colleagues.
People at that time felt that these criticisms, these demonstrations, these utterances, this writing in the press is delaying us, is distracting us, is obstruction. We want to move forward, but these people are delaying us. And that's why you had people who were unfortunately delayed, and it was most unpleasant. But at that time, those who were in authority felt that it is the right thing.
Indeed, his power was immense that he once rushed a constitutional amendment through parliament to allow Kenyatta to pardon Paul Ngei when a court of law barred Ngei from contesting a by-election for committing an election offense. He prosecuted fellow members of parliament, ignoring their pleas, including those made to the president.
Njonjo had very powerful allies. Remember then, the British still had the army in this country, and they were in charge of the economy.
Then came Kenyatta's death in 1978. When Mzee Jomo Kenyatta died in 1978, the succession intrigues of the time placed the then powerful Attorney General, Charles Mugane Njonjo, on the driver's seat of the political transition. And he literally ensured that Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, then vice president, succeeded his boss, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta,
na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote
as the second president of the Republic of Kenya. As Attorney General, he had seen off a group of central Kenya politicians that noisily campaigned to prevent Moi from succeeding the aging Kenyatta. He outlawed talk and even imagination of Kenyatta's death. That immediately silenced the Change the Constitution movement. And when Mzee Kenyatta died on the 22nd of August 1978, Charles Njonjo very calmly read the law.
Daniel Arap Moi is now President of Kenya for the next 90 days until an election is held for the future President of Kenya.
Moi's ascension to power marked a new phase of influence for Charles Njonjo, together with Laikipia politician Gigi Kariuki and the man Moi had picked as his principal assistant, Emilio Mwai Kibaki. Together, they formed what was seen as a partnership presidency that saw them share a ride in the presidential limousine. Just imagine that.
Even smoking in Moi's car, and you know who Moi was. They were so powerful. But what surprised many people was how they were able to establish a rapport with that Kikuyu leadership.
And I think that gave Njonjo, then during the Moi presidency, a lot of powers, at least in the first half of the Moi presidency.
Without Njonjo, I very much doubt the course of Kenyan history would have been the same. Specifically, I doubt that Moi would have become president.
The CIA governor, who was then a member of the National Assembly, describes Njonjo as a skilled political schemer.
Whenever he was in parliament, you could see where the center of the power of the state was. It was personified and solidified in the person of Charles Njonjo.
There were no mechanisms of challenging the constitutionality of any legislation enacted under his watch. Many political dissenters were detained without trial on minor offenses, as Njonjo retained detention laws and ensured tough prison conditions for inmates. Kenya became a single-party dictatorship after Njonjo lobbied Parliament to amend the constitution.
He moved, the bill. It was seconded by Kibaki, who was then cabinet minister. And then debate was closed. Nobody would be allowed to speak. I think I was the only person who was able to throw in a word.
Charles Njonjo made his office powerful by not only being at the center of political power and decision-making, but also by straddling the police force, legal fraternity, and the civil service. He incorporated the Criminal Investigations Department, CID, and made it part of his chamber's criminal prosecution. But that only lasted for 3 years, and the honeymoon was over.
At one point, Moi asked me, what do people say Njonjo is? So I told him, according to people, the most powerful person in this country is Charles Njonjo. If he wants you in jail, even if you have not done anything at all, you are going to end up in jail. Funny enough, Moi started laughing at my answer. He laughed and laughed.
4 years into Moi's rule, a group of disgruntled Air Force servicemen briefly overthrew the government on the 1st of August 1982 before being overpowered by loyalist forces commanded by Brigadier Mahmoud Mohammed. It is an event that changed Moi forever. The attempted coup made Moi an insecure president, and an insecure Moi moved to strip the ranks, first by getting rid of Charles Njonjo, then constructing his own power circle made of politicians and figures from his own Kalenjin community, including Nicholas Biwott, who came to be known as the Total Man. According to Koigo Amwere, Moi felt on the advice from Biwott and others to bring Charles Njonjo down to a level they could handle him.
Moi knew if he is to be stable and to lead Kenya, he shouldn't have people like Njonjo, who knew a lot and who had a lot of influence both inside here and outside in the system.
Having resigned as Attorney General in 1983 to join politics, the then Kikuyu MP and powerful Constitutional Affairs Minister had gained political mileage in the large Mount Kenya region. And that is how Njonjo's downfall started.
I think Moi had always believed that Njonjo would not connect with the Kikuyu leadership. But surprisingly, they quickly connected. And they connected with other parts of the country. It was very easy therefore for them to take over power, Gigi Karaoke and Njonjo. And therefore Moi had to get rid of Njonjo, definitely. Anybody would. Of course, that was in the African style. Traitor, what.
But Burudi Nabwera believes that the allegations against Njonjo were all choreographed to crush his presidential ambitions, if at all he harbored any.
For me, it is out of his character. It is not the Njonjo I know.
But that marked the end of the road politically for Charles Njonjo. He resigned both as Minister for Constitutional Affairs and Member of Parliament for Kikuyu, never to resurface again on the political scene until 2005 referendum campaigns, when he joined Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, Kalonzo Musyoka and others to oppose the Wako draft of the Constitution. The Orange team carried the day.
Serikali sasa ina two choices.
Apart from the referendum, Njonjo resolved to living a quiet, private life away from cameras. But he once in a while ventured out, ending at the judiciary buildings at one time.
Law does not see and law has no hands. But now, those who practice law here have hands and they seem to have eyes. Now when you have eyes, you get tempted.
He talked about something that continues to dog Kenya's judiciary to date: corruption.
The justice will dispense under the shadow of the blind goddess, on top of this building. That you come here in these law courts hoping and trusting that you are going to get justice and you are not going to pay for it.
Njonjo briefly stepped out into the limelight in 2007 when he declared support for Raila Odinga during the 2007 presidential election. My name is Enoch Sikolia and I am the Kenyan historian.